What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. In this video, we are jumping into Marauders issue number 7. This is a comic that I am very excited for, because we are finally learning some of the origins of Threshold. How is it possible that there were mutants 2 billion years ago? An entire civilization that rose to its peak and then disappeared from existence. But the new Marauders team had gone back in time. They stole the time capsule from the Crimson, and now they are trying to open it up. Now, be sure to subscribe to the channel, make sure you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so this story starts us off at Hellfire Bay. We are picking up with Kitty Pryde and Cerebra. Cerebra finds herself still trying to adjust to the past. If you guys remember, in the last couple of issues, we have seen her arrive at the hands of Cable, being on the brink of death. Cable brought her back to a time where they would be able to resurrect her if she did die. They do bring up Judgment Day just for a moment. Kitty Pryde saying that they are on the eve of judgment, but Cerebra refers to the progenitor as something of the past, so we can assume that this is taking place after judgment has already been had. She does find herself adjusting to this place, coming from the year 2099. A lot of things seem a lot more analog, and she had read the history of the X-Men, the history of Krakoa. She never thought that she would be one of the individuals coming back in time seeking some kind of haven. But the gate that they are currently planting, this is the gate for Bishop to be able to come on the new Marauder. That way Captain Commander can be at 2 places at once, more or less. But what they want with Cerebra is for her to examine the time drive, the time capsule that they brought from the past, the one that is supposed to be carrying the mutants from 2 billion years ago. And now that her abilities have more or less been restored, she should be able to scan it for anything that is inside. Meanwhile, we have our Marauders team who has made their way to Captain America, Nebraska, having Aurora, Somnus, Dakin, and Psylocke. There seems to be some kind of organization, the one referred to as the Watchdogs. They are a very anti-mutant organization. Because of this, there is a mutant that engaged them. The Marauders have been sent to see what is going on. Before they are even able to get into the town, a guy on a dirt bike shows up and tries just throwing slurs at them, telling them that they need to get out of here. And surprisingly enough, Somnus is the one to just knock this dude out. And once they get into the city, this is where they see Horsepower. Being adrenokinetic and drifter, his body burns super adrenaline. This grants him not only youth, but regeneration and superhuman strength. The only problem, he needs adrenaline. He needs to feel alive. That is why he goes after organizations such as this. A mutant who hunts down terror cells. While he may need the rush, he is trying to help in his own way. The only problem, he is going to level this town. Yeah, he's going to take the Watchdogs with him. The only problem, humankind, they are not going to look fondly on this situation. The truth is, he is causing much more trouble than he is actually helping. This is where we see Psylocke use a bow connected to her power. This is giving them narcoleptic suggestion. More or less, it's putting them to sleep with a bow and arrow that is manifested from her own power. That is where Dakin and Horsepower go toe-to-toe. And while Somnus, he suggests that maybe they help him out, Psylocke says let them fight. Let them wear each other out and they both can sleep it off back at the Healing Gardens. And so with their mission being complete, this is where we pick up at the Red Keep. This is where we have all of the boost fruit. This fruit enhances mutant abilities, takes them to the next level. We are picking up with Bishop, Christian Frost, and Cerebra. We also have an informational page letting us know more about Cerebra, more about her powers, her abilities, and how she is going to be beneficial moving forward. And Dr. Nemesis has done an entire report on her, checking out her DNA. She has very, very unique talents, but she is not able to replace the 5. Using some conditions, she could be very useful. Now, Cerebra is still a biological being. She lacks the hard drive space like Xavier's helmets, but she can scan in ways that those helmets cannot. She is a biometric telepath. She can read DNA, manipulate X genes, as well as a host of all other psychokinetic skills. The biggest question, can she save the Threshold members that are locked away inside the time drive? And in theory, she should be able to. Not just the data, not just the minds, but the DNA as well. And so from there, she should be able to reassemble the broken pieces so that they can do their resurrection. He believes that given an egg, Cerebra could even implant both mind and DNA instead of their current two-part process. And this brings up another question. If she were on the Marauders team, could she scan the entire team and save them if they were out on mission? This is still highly debated. Not really sure if she is capable to do such things, because it is all a matter of space. Believing the most that her mind could truly handle, at least unaided, is 1 mutant, maybe 2 at the most. But we have Boost Fruit. Boost Fruit could give her that extra boost that she needs. There is no doubt if she ate some, she could very likely take on more mutants and be able to scan and save more. And so at this point, she is trying to eat the Boost Fruit and she's trying to save the people inside the time drive. She believes that there are 3 of them. She can already feel her power starting to increase after eating the fruit, letting them know that it is time to get the egg ready. This is when we are taken over to the Arbor, and we have our billion-year-old mutant coming back to life. Breaking out of this egg, we see that it worked, appearing only to be 1 member of Threshold. At least that is what we see at first. But then we see this one individual break down into 3. This is where Kitty Pryde introduces herself and the other members of the Marauders, letting these mutants know exactly where they are and that they are in a safe place. Also letting them know that they died and they have been resurrected. They kinda did a plug-in for the English language so that they could understand one another, as they're trying to really come to grips with this new world that they are living in. They don't understand words like mutant, because they referred to themselves as the Enriched. And while they are very happy to find themselves here on Krakoa, they also recognize that everything is different. The base technology, the culture, everything has been rebuilt. She goes on to let us know that for all the power of Threshold, it was terminally ill. Escape was their only hope, not a where, but a when. As their world had burned, they had gathered the last 3. We have Thea. She has a mastery of local gravity, which can pierce time itself. Then there is Crave, a mutant with the ability to consume anything he chooses to survive. And then there is Amass, the one with the ability to combine them into a unified one being. Together, they lived inside the time capsule. Together, they could live in there for as long as they would want. With Crave's ability, they could eat forever. They launched themselves not knowing where they would land, just hoping that when and if a future society does really come up, that they would be found. But Thea does have a question. After it has been so much time, how do you even know about Threshold? This is when Cassandra Nova gives them a little bit of an information dump. This is when our new mutants, they learn that the Shi'ar Empire has truly thrived. The ones they referred to as Void Birds. They finally built the empire that they so desperately strived for. But now the question remains, how long have we been in stasis? Tempo letting them know that it has been 2 billion years. Everyone having a telepathic communication. All the Marauders talking amongst one another inside their minds, a little bit concerned that this could be a Ken Crimson trap. Because how could there be no evidence whatsoever of Threshold ever existing? How could there be mutants before humans ever existed? A question many comic readers have been asking themselves. But even Bishop knows that on a time scale of 2 billion years, it could easily have erased Threshold's remains. Anything everything that was there, it would be nothing more than stardust. But showing no signs of deception, visually, psychic, or otherwise, they have no reason to believe that they are with the King Crimson. But Thea, recognizing that these guys need a little bit more trust from them, this is where she starts to share more of their loss. Threshold was a nation of mutants, what they called the Enriched, prone to wonder, slow to anger, and quick to defend. When they repelled the first invasion from the void, that victory sparked Threshold's climb towards its peak in all of existence. Advancement and celebration, and the same miracle that brought Thresholders their gifts. The next of them crawling from the birthing sea, they were celebrants and builders. Each generation a family, spawned every 20 years, raised by all. Eventually, reform came, governance reborn as two houses, one called equally from each generation of Enriched, the others drawn from Enshire, what is known as the humans in our terms. See, what they are letting us know is that humanity existed 2 billion years ago. It had simply been erased and restarted. That is how mutant kind was able to be 2 billion years ago. This was the age of light for the Thresholders. That is, until the darkness came. Those referred to as the Unbreathing. These were their rivals. An industrial society, desperate for expansion, deprived by the First Oxygen War, they lay dormant for ages before resurfacing with more deadly tactics. Theirs was a guerrilla turf war against any that would breathe air. They had no choice. Oxygen was poison to them. Life for Threshold meant death for the Unbreathing. It took them only a taste of war for their pride to turn into poison. Fear of the Unbreathing drove them to very cruel places. They created hybrid bacteria to infiltrate and kill their cities beneath the waves. But the strains were too smart. They became self-aware. They turned on them, and then the bacteria turned on one another, fighting their own wars with the infected bodies of the Thresholders. The few that were able to hold off the infection were led by Grove. With no cure on the horizon, the only option was to escape, and so Grove chose her, Amass, and Crave to strike out into the unknown, to go out, find help, and preserve Thresholder society. And so they fled into the time drive. But all of this is still very hard on our Thresholders. For them, this war was just moments ago. It may have been 2 billion years, but when they put themselves inside the time drive, they were still very much at war. Their home was burning, and so none of this is easy for them. But they came here for aid. The only question, will Krakoa answer this call? Without skipping a beat, Kitty Pryde lets us know that Krakoa will answer this call. They will help without question. But the other Marauders, they are a little bit concerned, because saving them is one thing. Saving an entire society, that is a whole other thing in its own. This is when Cassandra Nova decides she is going to chime in. While Kitty Pryde sits here and says that they are going to help them no matter what, that they are going to save Threshold society. They will figure out all the time issues of time travel, so on and so forth. But Cassandra Nova, she is very much concerned because she believes that they are being thrown to the wolves. She knows exactly what they are going to be facing when they go back in time. Cassandra Nova had peered into the mind of our Thresholders. She saw exactly what this hybrid bacteria is. And the mission that they are being volunteered to go on will easily lead to their demise, because they would be going to the past to face monsters that once conquered the globe, or they will conquer the globe. It is their future and the mutants' past. Cassandra Nova, she knows them all too well, because these are the sibling bacteria known as Eureka and Sublime. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. This one is a huge freaking issue because it divulges so much information. Not only are we learning the origin of Eureka and Sublime, we are learning that mutant kind, humankind, existed 2 billion years ago. If it were not for the creation of the hybrid bacteria, mutant kind, human society could still very well be alive. And so I really do think that this has answered all the questions that most people have been wondering about. And we get a little bit of an origin story on our sibling bacteria. And I think Cassandra Nova, while she is portrayed to more or less be the bad guy on the team, and don't get me wrong, she's not a great person. She does have a point here though, because if we are gonna go back in time, if we are gonna try to save an entire freaking mutant society, a society where they have all of these crazy hybrid bacterias and all kinds of other stuff, can we actually do this? Or are we just gonna go back in time and get ourselves killed? Are they going to be able to pinpoint an exact time in the past that they can go to? Will they go to during the war, or will this bring us before the war? Because those things severely matter. It's all a matter of where tempo can actually bring them to. And then we have to worry about time travel. We have to worry about bringing mutant society to the future. Now we know all mutants, they more or less go extinct 2 billion years ago. And so I think the repercussions of doing time travel, they're not gonna have a huge effect. Because all of these mutants, all these thresholders, they go extinct, which means they have no future impact on what happens next in the universe, on their planet, so on and so forth. So it is possible for them to go back in time, rescue the thresholders, bring them back to the Krakoan era, and not have any effect on the actual timeline. But there are also many dangers in bringing a new mutant society to Krakoa era. But I do think it's freaking awesome, because more and more we are seeing mutant kind truly grow, from becoming Krakoa to taking over Mars, and now possibly saving an entire society that lived 2 billion years ago. This is probably like my third favorite comic that is currently coming out from the X-Men line. We have Immortal X-Men, X-Men Red, and then this freaking comic. I know a lot of people aren't on board with the Marauders, but man, I'm telling you, now is the time to jump on board, because I think it is about to start getting awesome. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to get caught up on everything going on with this series, be sure to check out the link in my description, as well as the top of this video. It is gonna get you completely caught up on everything going on with our new Marauders team. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having 5 different tiers from $1 to $50, loyalty badges to getting free comics every single month. Not only are you getting tons of perks, but you are helping out the channel in tremendous ways. Now, if you are unable to do this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.